Where are my Pisstown pals at? This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We are broadcasting out of the Sentinel Fort in Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com. Turn your volume down on your computer for me. SK1.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. It's all right.
Just got the YouTube stream up. Checking that everything, all our ducks are in a row.
How do they look? How do the ducks look?
The ducks look fine. Christopher says, hashtag Team Pisstown Pals. Jason says, hell yeah, Pisstown Pals. Mark Keister says, sup, Pisstown Pals.
It's really catching on.
I would say so. I'm a little concerned, though, that maybe if we did it later in the evening, I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
That we could get more interaction, but I just like the 4:20 time, and not just because it's 4:20, because it gives something to do if you're messing around at work.
Yeah, I like the 4:20 time. I'm thinking that maybe once a week we should do a later show. Maybe we should do Thursday night, a Thursday night show or something. You know, Sentinel Cast, we like to do that a little earlier. We don't like to be working late Friday night.
True.
But I think a Thursday night show could be interesting. District Sentinel Radio Thursday night. Let us know what you all think about that. We've got a full newscast coming up in a little bit. First off, news in the Brett Kavanaugh affair. Kavanaugh now claiming the virgin defense, saying he was a virgin during high school and for some years after high school and college, which really doesn't address the allegations because none of the women claim to have had sex with Kavanaugh, just that they were assaulted by him. Also, it's kind of a dumb excuse, especially if it's not true, because it's pretty easy to prove, or people could come forward to show that you're actually lying, and that appears to be like what's already happened. This tweet today. Perhaps Brett Kavanaugh was a virgin for many years after high school, but he claimed otherwise in a conversation with me during our freshman year in Lawrence Hall at Yale in the living room of my suite.
Yeah. We have someone coming out on Twitter to say that, well, obviously not only is the virgin defense ridiculous for all the reasons you explained, but it might not even be true.
Yeah. This Kavanaugh guy.
I got to say, he's looking creepier and creepier every day.
After that Fox interview.
The Fox News interview in which he claimed he was a virgin, and that's why therefore he couldn't have committed sexual assault. He just kept on repeating creepily shit, like the talking points all over again. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, we're headed for a hearing on Thursday. We'll get to see more of Kavanaugh.
Speaking of revolting human beings.
Is this our transition to Ted Cruz?
Indeed it is.
Ted Cruz, who enjoyed a night out in D.C. last night. He was dining at, what was
Fiola.
Fiola. What's the deal with Fiola? It's some expensive restaurant downtown?
Yes, it's right by the museum downtown in a place where very few people actually live. It's super close to the Capitol.
Let's see how that went down for our boy Ted.
We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! Beto is way hotter than you do! We believe survivors! We believe survivors!
God bless you.
We believe survivors!
God bless you. Excuse me. Let my wife through.
We believe survivors! Forgotten you. We believe survivors! 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 Sexist, racist, anti-gay! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors!
Leave the premises. This is a private.
Man.
Owned. Completely owned. So what happened there, if you could only hear, if you're only listening and not watching, the Ted Cruz and Heidi Cruz got let out the back door. They got shouted out of the restaurant by a bunch of protesters.
Yes. Top things about that video. The very end, watching Ted and Heidi be shuffled into the street by themselves nowhere to go, nothing, like no clue what to do for dinner now. I can only imagine when they got in their Uber or car, like the conversation they had after that, like followed by, well, where should we eat? Also, of course, the guy that said Beto is hotter than you, or said something along those lines.
He said Beto is way hotter than you, dude.
Is way hotter than you. Ted Cruz bowing up a little bit, being like, let my wife through. You know, he literally said the words "my wife," which is always great when conservatives say that. Lots of good things about that video. I don't know, that was good.
Definitely.
I was telling Sam, like, there was the DSA protest against Kirsten Nielsen a few months ago. There was the situation where Sarah Huckabee Sanders wasn't allowed in a restaurant. That was outside the Beltway, somewhere around Virginia or something, or Maryland.
Yeah, in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia.
But the more this keeps happening to dipshit senators and Trump administration officials, I guarantee you Congress is going to get together with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and pass some sort of ordinance or law hiking up the penalties for protesting at restaurants or barring them altogether or something like that.
Yeah, we've seen
the civility police is out in full patrol today.
The Restoring Dining Civility Act of 2018. We've seen some dipe filling already.
Including
Wait for it. I know who you're gonna go to, but I wanted to say Orrin Hatch has been doing some good dipe filling on Twitter.
I missed Orrin Hatch's.
Yeah, the group that trumpeted this action is DC anti-racist group, and Hatch noted that, the irony of anti-racist and anti-fascist shouting out a Cuban American. Cuban American's not a race, man. It's not a race.
Well, even Ted Cruz's opponent in his senatorial race in Texas, Beto O'Rourke, came to his defense, tweeting, quote, "Not right that Senator Cruz and his wife Heidi were surrounded and forced to leave a restaurant last night because of protesters. The Cruz family should be treated with respect." No.
What a weenie, dude.
Yeah, total weenie.
Keep
talking like a weenie and we're going to heckle you out of the Whataburger next time, Beto.
There are so many other things Beto could have said. I respect free speech.
Yes.
I get why people are basically just fucking despise Ted Cruz. There's so many different ways you can take that without just falling over backward to say, well, Ted Cruz deserves a night on the town.
Yeah.
No, he fucking doesn't.
Well, we do have conservatives again flipping out over restaurant antics, but Marco Rubio took the case here. Took the cake here, I'd say.
Yeah.
From a few weeks ago, really.
That's right. This is a callback to something that happened last week. It's just funny in the context of right-wing reaction to last night. Marco Rubio doxed a restaurant owner. He doxed the Salt Bay.
Yeah.
Urging people to protest and show up at his restaurant and call his restaurant because he served Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president, someone you don't agree with, and you're calling on people to shut down your restaurant. And where's the civility? Give me a break with these fucking right-wing babies.
Update on the biggest story yesterday. Sam and I are still on board with Gritty, so.
It's tough for me. I'm suspended for Twitter for another 5 days. I can't even follow Gritty. I can't follow at Gritty NHL until my ban is up.
Shame. This is a fucking shame. But we have this swag in the studio a little bit. So far, only stuff that the IWW has sent us. But feel free to send us stuff, especially if you're in the Philadelphia area and want to send us some Gritty gear. We'll definitely put it up, like, on the walls and shit. P.O. Box 43106. That's Washington, D.C. P.O. Box 43106. Zip code is 20010. P.O. Box 43106.
We're
Washington,
fully
DC.
on board the Gritty train here.
Yeah, send us some Gritty gear. We're looking for that Gritty gear. All right, we're going to read some haikus a little bit later. But first, it's Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. Here's the news.
Today, the president gave his speech before this year's UN General Assembly, It contained the usual scripted chest thumping. Also, this happened.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Now, in case you couldn't pick that out, that was the UN General Assembly laughing at President Trump.
Talk about a belief that transcends all borders right there. Mockery of the current U.S. president.
It was a little disappointing that they applauded his laugh line.
Yeah.
His recovery about whoa, I didn't expect that. People should have booed him.
I thought another thinking is that like they were all sort of laughing with themselves because they all laughed at the same time and were proud of themselves, and then it was acknowledged by Trump. So maybe it was just like a reaction to how, like, even when we were watching the speech live and he said that line, we laughed.
Yeah.
And the fact that everybody else in that room laughed too, there was a certain appreciation of it maybe.
Maybe watching it on video and or listening to it over again. I mean, I'm looking at the freeze frame of his face.
Yeah, he's getting fucking kick out of it here.
He's getting a smirk, and I'm afraid it just, not to fret over norms or hand wring or tear my shirt or anything, but it kind of normalizes just what a fucking giant hulking dumbass he is. I don't know. The president, in his speech, moving on, also hit out at Iran, as expected, and Venezuela. He spent a lot of time ranting about socialism. As if he wanted to make leftist criticism of his speech as easy as possible, though, Trump also said this about the situation in Yemen. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates have, quote, obliged to help end Yemen's horrible civil war. Independent observers say most of the atrocities and the suffering in Yemen's ongoing 3-year-long civil war is caused by the Saudi-led coalition involving all of those nations.
Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen has been lying about her department's family separation policy. You might remember this. At the height of the controversy a few months ago, as thousands of kids were being separated from their parents at the southern border, most still separated, by the way, Nielsen tweeted this, quote, "We do not have a policy of separating families at the border, period." Well, new documents released by two watchdog groups, the Project on Government Oversight and Open the Government, prove that that is not true. They got their hands on an internal DHS policy memo detailing family separation, signed, it's actually redacted, but signed by the secretary herself. The memo was directed to her and it was signed where she would be signing it. The memo informs Nielsen that she has the power to direct the separation of parents and minors at detention facilities. The memo makes a number of recommendations, which are redacted, but goes on to settle on recommendation 3, which, quote, would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border illegally, including those presenting without a family unit.
With the family unit.
Sorry, with a family unit. Yeah. So this proves it. There was an official policy on the book presented to Secretary Nielsen, signed by Secretary Nielsen, to break up families. So just like Ted Cruz, she shouldn't enjoy dinner in a public place in D.C. anymore.
Again, of course. She's already tried.
Yes. Let's take a quick break to read some poetry. All new subscribers to the Sentinel on Patreon get their own haiku written about them. Let's do this. This first one goes out to the good billionaires. Left the house today to go on a walkabout to the corner store.
Thank you, good billionaires. maybe want to think about giving us a little more than $5 a month.
If you're so good.
You're truly a good billionaire. This one is for Dennis. Hear me out on this. What if we also got to fire managers?
I like the sound of that. Thank you, Dennis. This one is for Eric. Think George Costanza dressed up as Colonel Sanders. It's real on TV.
Thank you, Eric. Not sure what that one was all about.
It's a commercial I saw. I couldn't believe it myself.
Moving on, this is for Gregory. It's Halloween soon. What are you gonna go as? A sexy pumpkin?
Thank you, Gregory. This one's for Kelly. Voters in Texas, remember Ted Cruz watches porno on Twitter.
Thank you, Kelly. Finally, this is for Frack. Days getting colder, but it's still muggy as hell. Remember seasons?
Thank you, Frack, and thank you to all the new subscribers on Patreon, patreon.com/District Sentinel. Keep listening if you haven't heard your haiku yet.
A top labor regulator responded to Senate Democrats who are saying that a conflict of interest is tainting a case involving organizing by company email. National Labor Relations Board Chair John Ring said the agency is following ethics guidelines in a matter revisiting an Obama-era standard, one which found that discussing working conditions by company email is perfectly fine if employees aren't doing it when they're supposed to be on the clock. Last week, Senate Dems complained that board member Bill Emanuel shouldn't take part in ruling on the litigation at the heart of the matter because his old employer, law firm Littler Mendelson, represented the company that lost at the board when the Obama standard was set. Ring said yesterday, however, that Emanuel's participation so far has been cleared by an agency ethics officer. In his letter, the NLRB chair said, quote, I can assure you that the board has followed and will continue to follow our prescribed government ethics requirements in connection with the Rio All Suites Hotel case. This is true both with respect to the request for briefing that was issued with member Emanuel's participation in August and with respect to any subsequent action in that case. Ring also said this of Emanuel's participation, quote, nothing about recusal decisions should be based on politics, that is, on a desired outcome in a particular case or on the position some may anticipate that a particular board member might take in the case. This comes months after the board threw out a decision weakening the joint employer standard because Emanuel didn't recuse himself. The agency inspector general said Emanuel should have recused himself because Littler Mendelson represented a firm that lost before the board when the standard was last set during the Obama administration. It's deja vu all over again with the email case, this time on a trajectory toward a different outcome. So what changed between now and then? Pressure from the industry, perhaps. Last week, the Wall Street Journal complained about Emanuel being told he should have recused himself on the joint employer case because of his own blatant conflict of interest. They described the agency as, quote, big labor's deep state.
That's almost as ridiculous as James O'Keefe.
Yes. So, well, almost. Either way, with the full weight of corporate America behind it, tomato red and shrieking mad like Alex Jones, why would you expect Republicans, especially Republican labor regulators, to give a rat's ass about conflicts of interest?
Finally today, in more oversight news, let's talk about a new Inspector General report out of the Department of Homeland Security. The watchdog found that Customs and Border Protection is flying drones all around the border, collecting sensitive information, and really not giving a flying fuck about privacy. Since 2006, the agency has been using unmanned aerial systems to monitor activity along the southern and northern border, and there is a lot of data being logged as these drones fly overhead. In fact, in 2017, Customs and Border Protection drones completed 635 missions, logged over 5,625 hours, and they're collecting images and videos below. And according to this new Inspector General report, The agency neglected to run mandated privacy assessments to ensure people's personally identifiable information wasn't being collected by the government and then stored. Federal law requires government agencies to submit new technology to what's called a privacy threshold analysis. CBP didn't do that. The agency didn't know about it, first off. Then they claimed that they didn't even have the drones in their official inventory, therefore they were evading the privacy oversight in that regard. The agency also claimed that since the drones fly above 19,000 feet, no personally identifiable information could be collected. Well, after more than a decade of flying these things and resisting the privacy assessments, one was finally conducted on the unmanned intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems in May 2018, which found that, quote, the system is privacy-sensitive technology because it tracks radar and collects still images and full-motion video that may detect the presence of an individual. Additionally, ISR systems collects data that may be used as part of an investigation should a law enforcement event take place.
That information sounds personally identifiable. You see what I was trying to go for there.
Yeah. No, I don't. What are you going for?
Personal identifiable information.
Yeah, I mean that seems to
PII.
fit in the
Right.
in the category there. Thank you for reiterating that.
Just tried to stress the point.
Yeah, let me put an exclamation point on that. The Inspector General also found loose control over the data once it's collected and sitting in systems where it sits for 5 years. The report made 10 recommendations to improve privacy oversight of the program. We've reached the end of the show for today. Well, the end of the newscast, not quite the end of the show. Now we turn it over to the viewers. What's going on over there?
Oh yeah, we got some comments here.
Uh-oh.
We've got Joe R saying East Coast bias about the start time of the show debate at the.
That is true. There is some
top of the
bias. I mean,
show.
what is it, like 9 a.m. over there on the West Coast when we start?
Then we have Joe again says Yale sounds so disgusting. Full agree. We have Christopher shouting of restaurants is the best tactic. Also agree there. The wind blows through us says no treats for the Zodiac killer. Not a bad take, in my opinion. Meredith says there should be no. This is in reference to Trump's UN speech. There should be no recovery from people laughing at you. Tarek says what that mouth cam do. Referring to the mouth cam, of course, as he said. And yeah, that's I think that's good for now.
I think that's good. Thank you all for watching the show once again. Show that we couldn't make without you. Thank you to our sponsors, the Congressional Dish podcast, hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. Hey, call the rant line. We haven't heard any messages in a while, so start calling the rant line again. 202-684-6108. Call the rant line. 202-684-6108. The newscast, it's back tomorrow. We're here in D.C., so you don't have to be.